you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats is restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for knives to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Good morning, folks, and welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm the People's Pundit, Rich Barris, and you guys can follow me on Twitter if you don't already, at Peoples_Pundit. All right, so here is the just the cold hard truth here. The media is going to call Pennsylvania for Joe Biden today. All right, the decision desk already called it. Arizona will flip to Donald Trump today, and when 6,000 ballots get thrown out in Nevada, that will tighten too. All right. Here is also the cold hard truth. The RNC has pretty much abandoned the Trump campaign, and they want him to concede. And the senators who owe their election to him have not given him any help whatsoever. That is everything you will not hear from Fox News, which absolutely was 100% on the bandwagon with this whole dizzle. Here's what we know. All right. This election was not handled properly, no matter what anybody tells you. It was not handled the way we have always handled elections in the past. COVID was used as a predicate to change long-standing election laws and to put a moratorium on integrity laws. All right. That is what we know in key states, not everywhere. Florida, Ohio, and many other states did a fine job of conducting their elections. All right. Some of the most strict laws having to do with when and how you can handle absentee ballots are in the state of Ohio, yet we have had no problems. Okay. That is the cold, hard truth here. Anybody who is crying and complaining that they're being accused of fraud should have conducted this election in public, transparent, and with integrity and competence. I continue to believe, whether anybody gives it, I believe this was by design. I see the huge numbers, and I'm very happy we have so many viewers. But for the core audience who has been around for 2 months, You know that I told you we would end up here. You know it. You stayed for 2 hours while we went through voter files, and I explained to you what was going to happen. Right, Laura?
Mm-hmm.
You guys know that. And I am sorry I did not have a bigger voice to make it known. I don't know what else to say. Because now over the last few days, I've been getting calls from both sides, frankly, but of course, primarily from the right. And they are totally clueless on how this even happened. That is the truth. I'm going to tell the audience the truth. Okay. They don't understand. They got outmaneuvered. The president was assured on election night that his margin was too big to overcome. They understood there would be shenanigans, or at least believed there would be shenanigans. And for those of you who don't want to be accused of shenanigans, then you should have done this transparently. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be. You're going to be, because this is how you chose to conduct this election. So there are going to be accusations. The sad fact is we spent 4 years with the big media, big tech, pushing the fallacy that the president was illegitimate and that he had been aided by a foreign power to win the election in 2016. That was a lie. It was a horrible lie, but it was one that tore our country apart for 4 years. And now, if the Trump campaign does not get any relief from the courts or state legislatures, and they will try to demonstrate open and shut cases of fraud. If they do not get any relief from the legislatures and Joe Biden becomes president, or the courts and Joe Biden becomes president, then we will have another 4 years at least of half of the country believing we have an illegitimate president. Self-governing democracies cannot survive like this. Every regime has to have something called regime credibility. Our intelligence communities use information warfare and psychological operations to destroy and chip away at our enemy's regime credibility. Doesn't matter if they're a dictatorship, theocratic, whatever it may be. And they turned it and used it on you this time. And what they have accomplished is what they have sought to accomplish overseas all around the world. Only they did it to their own people. That's where we're at today. So I can't tell you what's going to happen, because I know that Donald Trump isn't going to give up. Mitch McConnell's tweet today, that's a typical politician. You know, for people always like, oh, he's a right-wing pundit. I hate both parties equally. Amen to that, right, Laura?
True story.
That's not the truth. And if you think that, you don't know me at all. Politicians are politicians. They're both slimy. It doesn't matter if they got an R after their name or a D after their name. They are traitors to each other. They don't know the meaning of the word loyalty. They don't know the meaning of the word friendship. They don't know the meaning of the word integrity. They're cowards by nature. They're mediocre talents at best. They've been given the station they've been given by their situation, and few have gotten to where they are because of merit. I can't stand any of them. Why? Perfect example. Mitch McConnell's tweet yesterday, or this morning. 3 days later, and he says, we need to count every vote, every legal vote.
Captain Obvious.
Here's the truth of it, which a lot of you know. Senators that go on Fox News, Republican senators that go on Fox News and sing Donald Trump's praises, go to donors behind closed doors and talk trash about him, and have been for 4 years. You know what? The Republican Party is going to be so much better off when Donald Trump is gone. He has stained us as a white supremacist party, and will be better, and our brand will be better and stronger. when Donald Trump is gone. Now, here we are. They couldn't win that many non-white votes if they paid for them. If they paid for them. If the nominee in 2024, if Donald Trump does have to concede, if the nominee in 2024 is not named Ron DeSantis, they will get slaughtered again in Miami-Dade. Hear me right now.
Mark your words.
For all of what you can say Democrats are, they are nothing if not loyal and true to their beliefs.
Their party.
I am like a bit stunned. No, like it never it never surprises me how that is the dichotomy of modern politics with the two-party system. That Republicans betray each other and race to cut each other's throats and stab each other in the back, and Democrats are die-hard loyal. They want it more.
Amen.
Do you think Antifa would have let the sheriff keep them out of that counting room in Philadelphia? Not putting anything on anybody. I'm simply trying to point something out. All right. Do you think they would have done that? I don't think so. I think they would have. In fact, we can pretty much, they've been burning buildings down, federal buildings. They just seem, what I'm saying is they just seem to want it more. And they don't like, I don't know what the word is, Laura. It's not even a matter of betrayal. Like, they don't equivocate, you know? They don't equivocate, and they don't tolerate the betrayal. Like, could you imagine? Actually, we have seen instances of somebody like Jake Tapper or something from CNN or an MSNBC, right, getting out of line. They would never have a Fox News. You know what I mean? Like somebody who pretends to reflect their values and then stabs them in the back. Donald Trump is going to overtake Joe Biden in Arizona today. That's almost assured. And why do I say that? Because Donald Trump's problem, the dump in question, that was an issue for whether or not he would have enough votes to take over Joe Biden, was Pima County and then a little bit in Maricopa. In truth, he outperformed the projections in the other rural areas. He outperformed what we believed he needed in the split, the break. And then in Pima County, we, and not just we, others expected that Joe Biden would probably win that vote that came in Pima, the last of Pima, and it was a matter of by how much could Joe Biden tip the scales back. So if Maricopa dumped and then it put Donald Trump ahead by a little bit, could Pima County be good enough for Joe Biden that it would tip it back just a hair? Well, Donald Trump won the dump in Pima County. He won it 51.5 to 48. So now Joe Biden's, the only chance for Joe Biden to hold on in Arizona is if Maricopa comes in way less Trump than it's been coming in. That's the reality in Arizona. All right. That's Fox News for you. It looks like Laura was wanted to jump in and say something. Why don't we bring in Laura here? And I'm sorry, guys, my eyes are just like killing. I was wearing the same contacts for like 3 days. You know, lack of sleep too. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Laura. You want to say something? You bringing something in here? Oh, there you are.
I'm here. What I was just trying to say is, well, I was agreeing with you when you were discussing about Republicans, how they fail to come together. They rather cut each other's throats, like you said, and that's where the Democrats infiltrate. They know if they stay lockstep with one another and never deter, they cave. Because when have you seen, I've heard Mitch McConnell several times in an Obama administration, how he was going to stand up and fight for us. And then what did he do every time? Did he ever stand up?
No.
He talked a good game, but then he bent over. Mitch McConnell is the bend over master. All right. You hear me, majority speaker? You are the master of bending over and getting it.
And can I also say, because, hold on. Because the number of frauds in Donald Trump's movement is staggering. The people who told him to shut down, to listen to Dr. Fauci and shut down the economy, or at least give the CDC guidelines, which gave the governors cover. All right. To shut down the economy. You gave them the predicate to do this quasi election. You understand you did that? So oh, by the way, let's talk about Georgia real quick. But I do want to bring this back because I know I'm getting a lot of questions from Georgia. Okay. So Fulton is supposed to be in. Of course, we know that they were supposed to be in. DeKalb was the other one, or everyone. If I say DeKalb, people say it's DeKalb. If I say, yeah. Bottom line is we have some ballots that are in red areas, but that's not really it. That's not what's really. We're headed to, I believe still, we're headed for recount territory. Recounts don't find issues of fraud. Canvases do. All right. So just that. And I'm just trying to answer questions, Twitter and YouTube. All right. I'm trying to answer people's questions because you put together a quasi election that has confused the hell out of the country. So somebody has to answer the questions if you don't mind. Okay. So here we have some vote out. That's going to be for Donald Trump, no doubt. All right. But really what we're talking about here is about 60,000 military ballots that will come from Benning and others that are overseas. They will break. I know because I stayed there when I was in the Army for quite a little while before I moved on. They will break very heavily for Donald Trump. And as long as there's not another 50,000 ballots found somewhere, then it probably will tip Georgia back to Donald Trump. Okay. So that is where Georgia stands, just so when people understand. But they whittled down Purdue's margin to the point where that's going to be headed for recount territory too, because they have been allowed to continue. And I want to show you guys. So I want to read you something somebody sent to me. Because they have been allowed to continue to do this, they're going to go after some Senate seats now. Okay. If they can. Tom Tillis, I think, and Donald Trump's margin in North Carolina, very difficult to overturn that, because in truth, out in North Carolina, there still is a lot of red out. The same thing applies there. We have military ballots in those two states. But for people who doubted, because I tried to show you guys yesterday, but Twitter kept taking it down. I mean, I don't understand why they objected to me simply pointing out tweets that were already on their platform. I just don't understand. But anyway, though curing ballots, what we're not talking, I just want to read this to you. As a ballot rescue volunteer, you can have a major impact in multiple ways. With the ballot rescue team, you will be directly in contact with Georgia voters to help with issues with their vote by mail application or ballot for the November election. We are seeking friendly and eager volunteers who are enthusiastic and safe and accessible voting for all Georgians. This opportunity can be remote or in person. The remote option can be completely from the safety of your home and includes recorded trainings and guidance from the Voter Protection Associate Abby Meller and Deputy Director for Ballot Remediation, Alice Euling. You do not have to make calls from your personal number, but you will be asked to use your personal phone and or laptop. The ballot rescue team will provide you with training, a script to follow, and any supportive materials that you need. We are also looking for volunteers around the state who can help with targeted in-person outreach to identified voters who need help curing their ballot. This will entail leaving ballot cure literature at doors and in-person conversations with voters where available. Volunteers will be required to wear a mask at all times. Ballot curing is one thing, Twitter. Harvesting ballots after the election is another thing. You can, in several states, of course, you can cure ballots. What you can't do is get ballots that are submitted after the election in most of these states, which is in fact what somebody called for on Twitter. And yet you try to point it out and you get removed. It's just, it's incredible. It's incredible. All right. But anyway, I don't believe that they can find that many more ballots to overdo Purdue. And I believe that when those military ballots from Georgia are counted, that it will tip it back to Donald Trump, because we're only talking about Joe Biden has about a 1,500 vote lead right now. We're already getting a couple other ones in from some other areas, and it's being pulled in. Okay. And there we are. And yeah, I'm sorry, I just got a message. It distracted me. I'm just, it's like one of these things where you sit. I did this FM radio thing this morning, Laura, in Denver, and I had been speaking to her for a couple of months, and she was like, well, you called this.
Yeah.
You called this. It's very frustrating when you have what did I have before this blew up? Before election night blew up on Twitter. Where was I? Like 40,000, maybe something like that. And now I got 150 or whatever it is. It's frustrating because if
you had a bigger voice
at
the time, you think
then maybe I would have been able to make a bigger of a difference, because now everybody's so confused. They don't understand what's going on. So I'm going to recap it like I recapped it for her this morning on FM. COVID was used as a predicate to change election integrity laws or put a moratorium on them, to change longstanding law. I mean, for instance, in Nevada, ballot harvesting in Nevada is illegal. The legislature did not change ballot harvesting. Clark County changed ballot harvesting. It basically put a moratorium on it. They got liberal judges to help them keep it off. So we opened up Clark County, and I showed you how many of these ballots without integrity laws could be used. And we did this all over. Don't you find it a little funny that Joe Biden is performing at those levels, that they match those numbers almost explicitly? It's just stunning. It's just stunning. And Americans are mad. They're angry as hell. Fox News did a horrible job explaining this election to people on the right. And people on the right are going to be furious. If I was you, I would never look to my right-wing audience that's watching. Don't ever watch Fox News again. Find another source of news. I don't know what to tell you, because you're enabling them. If Sean Hannity is so upset and outraged at his network for calling Arizona, then resign, Sean. You don't have enough money? Put some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me you need that paycheck, Sean? You suffering over there? You suffering like the worker in Erie County is going to be suffering? Luzerne, Monroe, you suffering like them? You going to go back to painting houses like we always hear about? If you're so outraged, then resign. Please. Give me a break. The truth of the matter is, the Democrats understand our electoral system better than Republicans do. They understand the process. They understand logistics. They understand openings. They have a better understanding of it than Republicans do. It's like stunning, the questions I'm getting. Well, tell me, how does this happen? When these, when you count these things, I'm just like, you don't know this? And there is a huge disparity between who runs elections in this country, right? I mean, right, Laura? You can go to the reddest of counties and still run into Democrats who conduct the elections. You can, the reddest of precincts, and yet there are still Democrats who conduct those elections. I would strongly suggest a little bit more balance in this system, because who counts the votes can be just as important as who casts them. Right?
Apparently it is now. It decides elections.
Maybe if everybody was from the guts of New York and Jersey, they'd have a better understanding of how this stuff really does go down. And once something is done, it's very difficult to undo. But you really have to rely on legal precedent, not, trying to build your own. Like, so when in North Carolina, When Democrats were able to get a judge to order a new special election, they provided specific instances. And by the way, it was not mass voter fraud. Republicans did commit voter fraud. And guys, look, I hammer both sides equally. The Republicans cheated in that special election. They tried anyway to cheat. They had demonstrated that, and they got a new election. In the end, Democrats lost that election by a larger margin than they lost it the first time, which was really something else. But they got their new election. What I submit, is that you should probably focus your efforts on where legal precedent lies instead of trying to make up arguments that you wish were constitutionally sound. And maybe they are. I'm just saying you don't have time for that.
There's something to mention about those precincts and how they.
Yeah, that especially. I mean, look, I'm being. We're going over now. I mean, it takes time to do this stuff, going over precinct by precinct by precinct. The problem is, and really, it's not yet though, Laura. That's really the issue here. In a normal election, guys, we would have precinct level. It's granular to the precinct. So we know it's not just ward whatever in Philadelphia. The county of Philadelphia, like it is now. Excuse me. I don't mean to confuse anybody anymore than they already are. It's not just the county of Philadelphia. This is how many votes the county of Philadelphia has left. This is the precinct, different precincts in the county of Philadelphia, or really they're called wards over there. Okay. This is how many votes each ward has left. Removing that removes accountability from the system. So in Florida, you must report by 8 p.m. the day before each county by precinct, which if you would have called them on Tuesday, they would have happily given it to you if they had the information. Mm-hmm. They will argue in some of these other states that they can't get granular information like that because of COVID and everyone can't stand next to each other. I have no idea what the hell that has to do with how many votes were tabulated and put and counted and put in their system. The fact of the matter is COVID was overused, ridiculously used as a justification to remove accountability from the system. So the fact is, do we know how much was this? And no, but that's by design. That's exactly how, if you were trying to do this, that's what you would do. You would set it up like that. So it's almost impossible to determine how many votes came from where at what time. And in Florida, you just can't do that, folks. We got this many absentee ballots came in by 8 p.m. Monday night. This many people voted in person by Sunday, 6 p.m. Going into Election Day, all we really need to know. And there are always something that trickles in, but it's never egregious, folks. The only time it was egregious was when Brenda Snipes would do it in Broward County. Like that's what they would do or try. Or Linda. They're gone. Notice there weren't these egregious corrections and mistakes and ballots found all over the place. I mean, really, you can't help but to notice how smoothly the election went without those two, right? Mm-hmm. It was a well-oiled machine. So all that's left on election day is to wait for the bell to ring and count up the votes from election day. We already know the number from an election forecaster's point of view. Those ballots come in. You see what the absentee ballot break is. You see it by geographical location. So you know what the split is. We call it the break. I notice a lot of other people call it the split. I get that. So I don't mean to confuse anybody also. But I could say the break. Break meaning these ballots are breaking 75-25 for Joe Biden. The early vote in person is breaking 65-35 for Donald Trump. The election day vote is breaking 70-30 for Donald Trump. This is how guys like me calculate it as it's coming in. We know how much of each category is there, so we know how it's going to end up. when you don't know this, it leaves it open to all sorts of confusion at the very least. Chaos at the very least. Chaos and confusion. And I think look, I don't even think there's a question. We have located at random. So let me put it this way. If I randomly try to find somebody, if I know there's a list of 6,000 people who are ineligible and should not vote, and I randomly pull one person off of that list, and then I check and see if that person had an absentee ballot, and it's there, because it was random, the odds that there are more are extremely high. Extremely high. And if you don't want to be accused of that, you should not have conducted an election in secret, which is what you did. And you know it.
Otherwise, they would have left
A judge, a judge orders them to let them in. And some corrupt sheriff blocks the door. I mean, what else do you expect people to believe?
But like you said, though, the Democrats have dedication.
Yeah, man. You think Antifa would have let that sheriff stand in their way? Taping windows? What windows? Right. Oh, they absolutely would have. They absolutely would have. And I mean, really, it's just, I think that in the end, you can't keep doing this to the system. You can't keep injecting distrust. And you guys saw the polling going into this thing. Look at what people said in Pennsylvania. Look at how much trust these people did not have in the system. And you see the fake Fox News exit polls. Oh, I trust my ballot will be counted. Only 20% don't trust their ballot. That's not what the problem ever was, faux news. The problem was whether they trusted the system. And they did not. They did not trust the system. And you have given them an enormous reason to never trust it again.
Yeah, there is no system.
You can't do this. You can't. Things will break down. I don't know how much more a civil society can take, folks. I really don't. And that's what's concerning to me. All right.
Now,
go ahead. I was going to take a break, but go ahead. Just a 30-second break.
Do you think there's going to be real pushback? Or do you think they're going to take this and the people are going to be okay?
No, look, I think over time, I don't know what will be the pushback now, but I do know this for sure. Over time, this will consistently deteriorate. Our civil society will consistently deteriorate. And that's just the road we're headed down, which is why I'll be releasing my own plan soon to stop this. Since I was able to foresee how we were going to come out in this thing, I am going to release a plan as a Hail Mary to avoid what I believe is an inevitable breakdown of our civil society. And I have this plan, and I will map it out, literally map it out, and release it, because I don't really see how this gets any better. I just don't. All right, I'm going to take a quick 30-second break. I guess I don't have water. So maybe if I take 10 seconds if I'm blacked out for 10 seconds, that's why. All right, you're watching Inside the Numbers. Follow me on Twitter, folks, at @peoples_pundit. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And by the way, we will soon be streaming again to the site through Brid. And I will ask everybody, I know you guys are YouTube folks, but at least there'll be a platform there. We have to make arrangements for that, because what I'm seeing is deeply, deeply disturbing to me. I've had these plans in the works for a while now. I had a feeling that the election would be the pivot point. I really did believe that. And what I'm seeing now is really greatly disturbing. So I'm making my arrangements. All right. So don't forget, though, until that time comes, subscribe, go on. Facebook's always been good to us. They've never had an issue. And hit the like button on Facebook. All right. And of course, the best way to support the show. Wow. The subscriber count on PPD through the roof. We love you guys for it. Really love you for it. through the roof. I can't even get the financial report to generate a trend, for how many subscriptions, what's the trend line, what's our captured, what's our whatever, I can't even get it to generate. That's how awesome you guys are. All right. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Sorry, Laura.
It's okay.
Something's going on here as usual. It's glitching. I don't know if it's just a bandwidth or whatever, so I'm going to kill that because it seems that when I do it, we're Ethernet. We're hardlined in here. We're going to have to, the show is going to start to look different soon because we have to go back to Wirecast. We did this when we were, we were hopping states. So this was the easier way to do it. But I don't think it can handle it. I don't think it can handle the audience. I don't think this one's built for that. Unless, I don't know, maybe other people have had different experiences. But when the viewership starts to rise, it seems I get really glitchy. I don't know if you guys see what I see, but I get to really glitchy. So this is what I would like to do now. I would like to just open up questions because I know you guys are confused. It is Freewheeling Friday anyway, but I meant to do this yesterday. And people are calling, things are happening right now. So I'd like to just open up questions so you guys can ask me what, because look, transparency, sunlight is the best. It's the best solution to distrust and, suspicion of corruption. They should have done it this way. And now the level of questions it's through the roof. And let's try to see if we can do something about that, shall we? What's the deal here, Laura?
Somebody wants you to talk about the lawsuits. Like what's going on with the lawsuits? What does it mean? Like a lot of people are confused what the lawsuits can actually produce and do.
Okay.
If you had my mic on, though.
All right. This is why the Trump campaign was really behind the ball here. And I'm not trying to criticize anybody, so don't send me messages about how angry somebody is. I don't give a damn. All right? Maybe you misunderstand the kind of guy I am. I don't give a crap. I'm not here to be Mr. Nicey Pants, They needed to be able to observe that counting. Remember all of the naked, for instance, one example why. Do you remember all of the naked ballots we heard about, 3 to 5% of total votes in Pennsylvania could be thrown out because of these stupid naked ballot rules. Could be 150,000. Could be 200,000 ballots disenfranchised because they were DQ'd for not following the naked guidelines, right? I can't get an official to tell me about a single ballot that's been DQ'd because of that. And I suspect we won't be able to. Once they started counting, it's incredibly, in private, behind closed doors, in the dark. It's incredibly difficult to find out whether or not the chain of custody with those ballots was proper and whether or not the verifications of those ballots were proper. All right. Or whether or not, like that video from Atlanta, the guy flips off a Trump voter, crumples up his ballot, throws it in the garbage, and then lets a Biden voter go through that the ballot was not, valid. I mean, guys, of course that stuff happens. They also needed people on the ground to make sure that the U.S. Postal Service was not allowing Donald Trump won Erie County. You're never going to tell me otherwise. I polled it for 3 months. Even when Donald Trump was down, he was not trailing in Erie County. So you got that I'll believe that until the day I die. I got it right everywhere else, guys. I got it right everywhere else. I even overestimated Joe Biden in Minnesota. And I am telling you that Erie County went for Donald Trump. What happened? The U.S. Postal Service was collecting ballots illegally for 3 days, among other things. That's just one piece of the puzzle. So the lawsuits now, that's not the remedy they really have. And I know I've heard what directions they're trying to move into, but once those ballots are counted, you need a full canvass and accounting of those ballots. And even if you get them, it's incredibly difficult still to catch like everything. There's so much can still fall through the cracks. There is stuff that you could find during a canvass, but too many will have fallen through the cracks. For instance, the envelopes where they signed properly. I don't know. They threw them out. Once they did that without anybody watching, what is a judge going to do? There's no way to find out whether those ballots were proper, whether they were legal. So right now, the remedy that they got the judge the other day to say you can go and observe the ballot counting, but they still didn't let him in.
I was wondering,
because they needed every one of those ballots to overcome Donald Trump's margin, which was way bigger than anybody anticipated it would be. What are you wondering? Let me ask you, Laura. I'm just leaving this up for posterity.
Yeah.
Because we did it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we probably underestimated Donald Trump. But go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying from a law perspective, I think that it could, I'm just trying to give the Trump lawyers an idea.
Don't you? That's not what we're here for.
I am. No.
I can't control her.
I know you can't. But what I'm saying is once they got that court order, though, I mean, there could be a possibility with whatever count came in, therefore, after the court order could be null and void because they went against a judicial judge.
I mean, yeah, Laura, in a perfect... Okay.
In reality.
Like I said, we need to go back to Wirecast because I can't stand this mic back and forth crap. We're going to Wirecast. In a perfect world, of course, do you not think Democrats would get that? They got a whole new election in North Carolina. Of course they would get that. In a perfect world, she's right. The judge made a ruling. They made a ruling. Could you imagine some corrupt Republican attorney general tweeting the things that we saw out of that Pennsylvania attorney general a week before and then have this happen? Could you imagine Anderson Cooper would soil himself on air? He'd be so mad. I mean, it would be a completely different ballgame.
Yes.
All right. So right now, what they're doing, there is another, and I don't know if I want to blurt this, but there is another avenue they can go. And I will just say this. They can get relief from legislatures. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there are currently 2 states, and I'll just say this. Pennsylvania is corrupt as hell. It's always been corrupt. But there are 2 states with only corrupt areas. All right. And they have legislatures that are favorable to them. And if they could show instances like Democrats did, there is some precedent there. We've actually had this happen in our history before. And then with Arizona could circumvent Pennsylvania. All right. As long as, of course, they kept North Carolina and Georgia, which I believe once those military ballots come in, if they found, Laura, another 50,000 ballots in Georgia, it would just be so egregious. It's already egregious. It's already. I mean, that was looking like a go and compare the margins, folks, from 2016. That is not population growth. Right? That is not population growth. And what I said before, so I guys can show you, Wisconsin's up. Minnesota's up. If you guys want to take a look at it, it does appear. And if you remember the episode from when we were going over it with Robert Barnes on what are the odds before I had a chance to put it up, it does appear that I was right in the North. It wasn't enough to overtake that. I thought it would be, but when we polled it that final time, it was the North, the Northwest, that part of the Iron Range into it. He definitely closed it out, but it was in the end, it just wasn't enough to flip it. If Arizona flips to Donald Trump, then we'll be right there. and maybe we overestimated them a little bit, but that's the one and only state, then that will be because that Maricopa vote, at least we caught that movement at the end. So these late votes in Maricopa are much more pro-Trump than we thought. Those are the late deciders that broke for him in Maricopa. And ironically, there's another fraud that was perpetuated on the American people. The idea that there was this mass exodus of suburban women from Donald Trump was a load of crap. A load of crap. They showed that and showed that and showed that and showed that in their fake polling, which I am now calling fake, by the way. You're going to smear me? You're going to smear my integrity? Nate Cohen, I believe, knowingly lied to people from the New York Times. Either that, Nate, or you're just that bad at your job. Which one is it? I believe he routinely showed 30% increases in the electorate in these states to cover for what we are seeing now, to set the narrative that that would happen. Because we only found 8, 10, 12, maybe 15 in certain areas, which doesn't even appear to have come to fruition. That was a hoax. That was a fraud. That was not true. And certainly was even more not true was that they were all going to break 90-10 for Joe Biden. Go look at the state of Illinois. Go look at the difference between the state of Illinois in 2016 and the state of Illinois in 2020. There was no mass exodus. Even the faux news, voter analysis, bogus AP, Ameritweak panel showed Donald Trump did better with white women than he did in 2016. Now, I'll leave it up to you whether to believe that. But I believe that they were doing that because they knew, or at least they had hoped, what we found in our public polling project. Because we knew that we were headed for potentially the biggest polling blunder since 1947, we didn't only ask people questions. And I guess Minnesota's not up with these questions, but I'll read them to you. We didn't only ask people questions about their vote preference. We asked whether they personally believe there was shy voters, and we asked questions about how comfortable they were being truthful and talking to pollsters and other groups of people about their political beliefs. And over and over and over again, we routinely identified that there were roughly 3 in 10, sometimes more, depending on the state, roughly 3 in 10 voters who would tell us that they were either somewhat uncomfortable or very uncomfortable telling us the truth, and that there were at least in the 60s, and as you can see here, sometimes even higher, almost to 70% who believed, in Arizona it was 83, who believed that there were shy voters. And the question was, do you believe there is a significant number of shy voters who do not want to share that they are voting for Donald Trump? Arizona, 83.4%, Florida, 64%, Pennsylvania, 65.7%, Michigan, 67.3%, Wisconsin, 68.5%, and the North Star State, which isn't up there yet, I'll just read to you, 65%. Ironically, in the North Star State, only 17% said they didn't believe. Another 17% said they were unsure. So then from there, you move on to the question of how comfortable are you? And we asked about friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, strangers, and pollsters. In Arizona, almost 4 in 10 voters told us they were either somewhat or very uncomfortable talking to pollsters and being truthful about their political beliefs. In Florida, 32.37%, almost 1/3. In Pennsylvania, 3 in 10. In Michigan, nearly 4 in 10. In Wisconsin, nearly 4 in 10. And who are these people? over and over and over. They are black men, young to age 65, more specifically, black men who work, and the suburban woman. The suburban woman. And we are going to release what will be, what I truly believe will be the biggest contribution to the polling industry maybe ever. This is why you got it wrong.
He broke records.
I know he did. He got the highest number of non-white voters in 60 years. That's what the exit polls say. But exit polls and voter analysis, Laura, they can't talk to people who don't hand in their own ballots. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Do I need to pull up the screen again, guys, and write in people's information and show you, some of this stuff? Some of these, there is no doubt. It is not something you can argue with. We have located, and somebody sent that to me from some other guy, Fleckus or something, right? I don't know, right? And they're like, oh, did you see this? And I'm like, here we go. Because every year we see this. I'm like, here we go. Sure as hell enough, he was on the record. Sure as hell enough, he was on the Social Security Death Index. Sure as hell enough, he handed an absentee ballot in even though he died in 1984 at the age of 82 in Detroit.
122.
So that's what got me started on looking at more.
I mean, if a 122-year-old can vote and raise like Lazarus,
yeah,
I mean, it's amazing.
Still, I can only hope and pray that when I'm 142 years old, I still have the strength to vote.
Amen.
And dead. And he's not alone. I'm just saying that's the case that got me intrigued and then started to look. And I don't want to tip my hat off, but at my own personal expense, I'm going to, because these things do take, money. At my own personal expense, I'm going to do a lot more on this, because everything I saw suggested that they have been at this in the Midwest states since September, at least, depending on the state. In October, so yeah, as far as that kind of stuff is what I'm saying is something that you should wait, take your time to go to. That is what those were, how the Democrats did it in North Carolina. Is those were specific instances. Like, here is this guy. These are the dates involved. This would absolutely require an organizational effort to get this done. It's not one or two people here, folks. It's not one or two people.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
I didn't take it out of context. He can't speak. Which one is it? Did he give a gaffe, or did he say something that's just wrong? I mean, I didn't take it out of context. He said it. Give me that context crap. So he's either an idiot or he made a mistake. Either way, it's not my fault. Don't tell me I took it out of context. Your guy's either senile or he accidentally blurted something out.
He finally said the truth.
Doesn't matter anyway. I'm telling you, I have access to voter files. There are thousands of known deceased records on every state voter record. There are even more unknowns. It takes states time to catch up. The only way we know from there is we go through by birthday. So you know who's dead, you know who you don't know in the rest of the pool of voters. You look at their birthday, genius. That's how we identify them. 1902, 1912. Then you take that record through the Social Security Death Index. You cross it against the death index. Then you plug it in as if you are that voter on the Secretary of State website. And it will tell you whether or not they handed in an absentee ballot. Don't give me that crap. That is what you do. And that is what you bring to a legislature or a judge. Give me that nonsense. I took him out of context. It's impossible to take Joe Biden out of context. He doesn't know how to speak anymore. His wife has to mumble in his ear so he can remember what he was supposed to say.
Who he was actually competing.
Give me that crap.
Trump.
I'm married to such a good woman. She would never let me make a fool out of myself like that. All right, let's get another question.
All right. So let's see.
Hold on. Let's dance again. There we go.
All right. So I'll ask two questions so you don't have to keep going back and forth as much. Can Ducey fire Fontes like Ron fired Brenda? And do you think Rob DeSantis gets a chance, or we will run with the same idiotic version of Mitt Romney, such as Ben Sass or Jeff Flake?
There is something wrong with your mic. It's feeding back. It's humming. Maybe we're too close to each other. I don't know. But maybe I'll just put it on figure 8 so you can use mine. This is what I'm saying. Wirecast is so much better. All right. First, let's start with the Fontes thing. I don't know if Sean is in here listening. I'm not an expert on election law in every state. That's just the truth and honest answer. I don't know if Ducey can remove Fontes. I don't know. I do know Florida because I am Florida, so I don't know their law. That's something, but I'll look it up for you. I will. I'll inquire about it. And then the second answer to your question is, and this is something all the never Trumpers who are listening should take to heart and take it to the bank. Take this to the bank. As somebody who predicted the 2016 election, even though everybody takes credit for my work, which I am done starting today, I am done allowing to happen. Everybody who had twice the Twitter followers I had, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, all they did, folks, was call me every day and ask me for my poll numbers. Right? Yeah. That's it. Including people I'm friendly with. But that's the truth. They're no genius. They called me and asked me for my poll numbers in 2016. They believed me and not the media. They're not some geniuses that figured this out. There was only one man I know in America outside of Robert Cahaley who knew that Donald Trump was going to win in 2016, and that was me. It was a lonely night. Believe me. There was only one man who put numbers out there. There was only one who got this one correct again. And there was only one who knew how this absentee ballot shenanigan, whatever you want to call it, this systemic red mirage was going to play out. And that is me. So take it to the bank when I tell you this. You're not getting your party back because you helped to defeat Donald Trump if he does, in fact, concede, which I don't think he should. Hillary Clinton still hasn't conceded.
I know.
Why should he? Why shouldn't he fight? He's got millions of Americans around the country relying on him. He's not Bernie Sanders. He's not going to put his tiny little between his legs and walk away like Bernie does, leaving his supporters demoralized. Should he be like him? Should he be like Hillary and stick around and pretend like he won the election? Why not?
Well, he did.
Why not? We didn't demand Hillary concede. Take it to the bank when I tell you this. You're not getting your party back. It's not your party anymore. Somebody else is going to take Donald Trump's place. The Republican Party is the party of the working man and woman of all colors, shapes, and sizes.
Amen.
He did something you never could have done, and you never will do. Michael Steele, you don't have a place in the future of the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell, your days are numbered. You have won your last election on the back of a popular president. The rest of you, it's a wrap. Because I'm not going to shut up anymore about how you sit in my friends' living rooms and talk trash about the president and how the days will be better without him, and then go on Sean Hannity and smile with a twang and say, I'm helping fight. Give me $5. I'm here for you. The president's a great friend of mine. You're also full of crap. You are also full of crap.
Proof is in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding.
Where are they?
Where have they been? Now a tweet? Now a tweet?
Yeah, oh.
Rick Santorum, you couldn't compete in your own state. You couldn't even compete in your own state. You got wiped out. Obliterated. You represented the Republican Party that loses Pennsylvania by 20 points after being an incumbent who used to comfortably win re-election. You represent the part of the party, never-ending war, Mr. Working Man. What was your vote on trade deals? You got your ass kicked, wiped out. If you won the nomination in 2020 or 2012, you would have lost your own state, loser. You would have lost your own state. Wouldn't have been an embarrassment. They wouldn't have needed 7 days counting in Philadelphia to overtake your pathetic little margin. You would have been blown out. You're not getting it back. You're deluding yourself to thinking you are. You think the voters are just going to forget about this?
I told them.
Are you out of your stupid little minds? God almighty. Take another swig. Buy another hooker. That's another thing. Pretending like you're so morally virtuous compared to this guy. Donald Trump is just not good at being a liar like you. Don't pretend like you don't talk like him behind closed doors. Like you don't act like him, like you don't cheat on your wives, or worse. What a freaking charade, man. Kidding me? These are the most filthy old men you'll ever meet.
On both sides.
Nice little old man from the Midwest. Can't keep his hand off his assistant's butt. He's the moral. You just got to be kidding me. You know, I'm over that crap. I'm over it. Over it. We're just not going to let that go anymore. Normally, I just let it go. But if this is the way it is, I mean, if deception is the name of the game, then deception has always been the name of the game. But you know what I mean. I mean, we're just not gonna play that like this anymore. We're just not gonna play like this.
But this is blatant. This is
in your face. And they just shut up for 3 days and let it happen. They just shut up for 3 days and let it happen. Because let me let you all in on a little secret. This is what Mitch McConnell wanted. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan were laughing at the idea of a border wall. Laughing at it. Paul Ryan walks his corny little ass to the microphone and talks about how Donald Trump heard the voice that he didn't hear, but now I hear your voice. Yeah. He is the biggest lying little boy you will ever see. I mean, really. The truth is, they wanted Joe Biden. Many of these guys wanted Joe Biden to win. They wanted their Republican Senate and Joe Biden to win. The goodies will be flowing aplenty now because even Republicans were not getting their K Street kickbacks when Donald Trump was president. They can't wait for it now. This is what they wanted. All right? It's just true.
Do we accept Bitcoin?
No, I don't do Bitcoin, but I thank you for your support. Mm-hmm. You know? And really, honestly, guys, to Laura will tell you, I really wish that I could have done more here to shine light. I really do. because we tried, we did, and
You should hear our conversation.
because of
let me tell them a little bit.
I don't know if I want to.
Well, he looks at me and he's like, did I do everything that I could have done? Was there something that he missed? How he could have tried to push harder? But I mean, I tell him all the time, he did his part. You did what you could. It's not your fault. They didn't listen and they weren't prepared.
That I'll let go. I mean, some things I just don't want people,
No,
you
I'm
know.
not going to tell.
But the fact of the matter is, like, you know, I knew it would be this. I knew it would be. It's chaos. That's why this is the title of the show. The chaos continues, right? Because that's what they're. What is it that? What did he's right? He actually used the correct term. The actual. There's a name for what's going on. Glenn, is Glenn here? Is Glenn in here?
Hold on, let me
He
check.
used it last night on his show, and he's right. It's but it's when you just overwhelm with confusion and chaos. You just overwhelm, and then you move, you advance, and you overwhelm with chaos. And that's what they did. Glenn, are you in here, buddy? Because that is what that is exactly what happened. And by the way, I do want to just bring up this result in Wisconsin, okay? In Wisconsin. This is something that I find a little bit funny. As you guys know, it was only about 2 points in our poll, well within the sampling error. But I released it with a caveat, and I said, if I'm wrong about the electorate, then this will be like this.
He said he's here.
What did you call it yesterday, Glenn? When just like overwhelmed with chaos and you just overwhelm with confusion and you just advance and throw, like you overwhelm the system like they're overwhelming it now with the ballots. He used the term, and that is the correct term. If he tells you it, let me know.
It was like the flood something.
Yeah, you flood the zone. You flood the zone, right? Or something, flood the zone. That's it. That's it. That's exact, guys. I mean, and Republicans are just weak. They're just weak. They don't know it. But to circle back to Pennsylvania, to Wisconsin, I did release it with the caveat that if I got the electorate wrong, the electorate only had to be a little bit more Republican. And I was looking at who was voting, Target Smart, all that stuff, guys. I told you it was crap. Crap. Inference is not that simple, but demographics do matter. All right. And I was looking at the demographics of who was voting in Wisconsin, and I was thinking to myself, I'm wrong. And if it's just 2 points more Republican, the difference could be enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it was much more Republican. We modeled it incorrectly. So by all accounts, that should be a Trump +1. By all accounts. Michigan, we absolutely underestimated Donald Trump's strength in Michigan. I looked at the undecideds, and they didn't look as good for him as they did for John James. So I'm not surprised that John James ended up a little closer. John James would have won that race. With oversight, John James would have won that race. I wonder who William Bradley voted for, Laura. I wonder who Bill Bradley voted for in Michigan. I wonder how that turned out. I bet you Bill Bradley isn't a James vote. How much you want to bet, folks? I'm willing to bet he isn't. All right, I'm going to stick with you guys for a little bit, all right? I do have somebody working on something that I was asked to work on, but they're handling it so we can talk a little bit more and I can get some more of your questions, all right? So just don't go anywhere yet. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the break, okay? And I will answer as many more questions as I can, all right? And that's where we're at, okay? And I'll try to, ease some of the confusion, all right? Hang tight. I'm going to leave you with the Bowen Band Bad Habit, and we'll be back, 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats is restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
All right, and we're back. I got a great question when we were on the break. What was the percentage of trust in this system that we did? And it depends on the state. So we could go state by state. I'm waiting for if he had a specific state in mind. If not, we'll just look at some other ones. All right, but in Florida, for instance, this is something interesting because Florida was overwhelmingly an absentee ballot state, guys, right? So you had in Florida, a state that has been doing this for many, many years. They're not stupid. They understood the difference this time around. Voters aren't as dumb as the media and both political parties believe them to be. In Florida, only 47.2% said they either had a great deal of trust or a fair amount. Another 40% said they had not very much or none at all. 1 out of 5 voters said they had no trust at all in the system. 3 in 10 voters said not very much. That's noteworthy because that's a state that has been, we've been voting absentee ballots forever. We had the Bush v. Gore issue. All right, let's go to the Keystone State, a state where it never really took, right? So this is the first time, and I think, again, I'm stunned by how many people didn't know this that I spoke with. Pennsylvania is not really an early voting state. So to try to compare how many absentee ballots we had this time to last time is not going to get you anywhere in a court of law because you don't have any real comparable election cycle. You just don't know, right? This is a state that votes primarily on election day. This one was even worse. Or I believe it was even, no, this one was a little bit better, but none at all. Again, almost 20%. Not very much, 3 in 10. Half. Half the voters in Pennsylvania. Unbelievable. go to another one real quick while we try to. You got questions you want to field up here?
I got a lot of questions.
Okay, let me just
There's a
do.
dump in Arizona, apparently.
There is a dump in Arizona. Okay, there wasn't supposed to be until a little bit later, but let's see where it broke. Oh, Joe Biden's lead is about to go. It's 50,000. Let me bring it up. Let me tell people what's going on. Okay. I got to look at where, oops, and I still got this up. Let's look and see where in Pennsylvania, where it looks like we got some dumps in Maricopa County. Okay. So let's remove this. Let's bring the other one in. Maricopa was a near 100 and something thousand vote margin when these new when counting stopped. It was 100 and something thousand. Okay. Now we're looking at, let's bring this up. Actually, let me just bring it up and shut myself up. Okay. Here we go. What happened yesterday? You had some from here come in. All right. Cochise, I think. Cochise, right?
Whatever.
This is a liberal county in Arizona. We polled Arizona when we had Trump ahead because Maricopa came home at the end. It's coming home right now. I'm going to show you in a second. Right now, they're separated by 40,000 votes, roughly. Okay. Less. 1 point, oh my goodness. Really 1.2, roughly. Pima had some vote out. This was really curious what was going to go on here in Pima because the vote could have been strong for Joe Biden. It's a very liberal area, populated area. Okay. And Donald Trump in our polling was about just under 40%. You had to hit 40, roughly 40. The vote in Pima could have sent him down a little bit more. He was at 38. Instead, he won that vote. About 51 and change to 47 and change. He won that vote in Pima. That was a good sign for him. Looks like we got another dump in Maricopa, and now it's only 3 points. When this started, Joe Biden was ahead in Maricopa. That was his entire margin, correct? Right? Maricopa was more than Joe Biden's total state margin. So now we're looking at a dump in Maricopa that brings it closer to 60,000 deficit. I want to say it was like 90 when it started or something like that. And the total statewide was enough to flip it if Maricopa came home. So we need to wait and see what's going on in Maricopa County. Because if this tightens, Joe Biden now at 50.8, 50.9, Donald Trump at 47.7. In our polling, because of the vote that was out in other areas, he did crunch out as much as he could crunch in the, Penal still has votes. Oh, Lord, Joe Biden's lead is, it's gone, I think. I think at this point, it really does depend what Maricopa does. But Maricopa, look, has tightened. Look at how much it's tightened. So So now we're just looking at 60,000 votes. That lead has wiped away considerably. Started at like a 10-point edge. And this is important, guys, because Fox News made this call when they didn't have the numbers. In fact, the only thing they made this call based on was voter analysis and a complete and total willful blindness to the way the margins were breaking in his vote on election night. He was demonstrating the ability to win votes that were coming in after early votes. He had the ability, he was overtaking the early vote everywhere. This is something that everyone should understand too. In the states where election integrity and accountability were still in place, when we knew what's the early vote, and then it was dumped, and then the election day vote came in all of those states, his election day margin was enough to overtake the early vote. Joe Biden's early vote lead in Arizona was not nearly as big as the polls projected, and that should have been a sign to Fox News right there. And it should have been a sign that Donald Trump, his performance in the rest of the country, that his election day performance was enough. That should have been a sign too. But you have to conclude, looking at the numbers, if you're a numbers guy, you have got to conclude like me that this was never about making a correct call in Arizona. This was about a narrative war. This was about Operation Red Mirage.
And Fox News did it. I will also remind you that it was Fox News that played the pivotal role in 2018 of calling the House before California was done even voting. They needed the House and the Senate to impeach Donald Trump. It couldn't have been CNN who made the call. Think about it, guys. If you're trying to push a narrative war and you're trying to do it against Donald Trump, it can't be CNN who does it. Somebody's got to play this role. It can't be CNN. It can't be MSNBC. It can't be NBC, CBS, ABC. It has to be somebody who has a little bit more credibility with the right, not the left, with the right. The left will accept it no matter what. It is a chunk on the right that you have to get to accept it in information warfare like this, which is what it is. They turn psyops on you. It had to be Fox News. It could only be Fox News to work. And they did it in 2018. And they did it again this year. They played a role. They knew exactly what they were doing. Exactly. So let's keep an eye on this. There is still more very red vote out from Pinal County. I want so badly for Fox. I'll be honest with you all. I normally, I don't give my personal stuff like this. I want so bad for Fox News to look ridiculous. I want so bad for Fox News to have a stain.
It's possible Arizona flips.
It is. It's very, I'm telling you right now, it is very possible. Very possible. All right. So let's keep this up. We'll keep an eye on it. All right. And as we go down the line, then we will see what it is. Let me look and see if I can get the break. It was a little bit closer, though. Trump needs a little bit more in Maricopa. So that last update in Maricopa is breaking about 52% for Donald Trump, 56% for Biden. And that was almost 62,000 ballots. Hey, guys, if you want to know whether or not Donald Trump can erase that margin, there's about 240,000 ballots left in Maricopa to be counted. He needs a margin that's a little bit bigger. This is what helped Biden, though. There was about 1,400 votes or so in Santa Cruz, which technically that is yeah, they're doubling down because they're hoping Santa Cruz is gonna save them. Santa Cruz is down here. All right, Joe Biden won that vote by, let me get those numbers real quick, but we're only talking about 1,400 votes. He won it with about 57% to 42% to Trump. Okay, so Trump needs that Maricopa vote to come in pretty solidly for him. All right, but it absolutely can't happen because we're talking about. Looks like we just had a different change. We're talking about, let me refresh just to make sure that the API, when I see the state blink like that, the API can change. All right, no, we haven't made any movement yet. It's all about Maricopa, folks. Oh, it is. It's 50,000 now. It did change. That update, it went in. All right, so, oh no, that's about right, isn't it? Isn't that the same? The only thing that changed I see is Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz added Joe Biden another, I don't know, a couple hundred votes. We're only talking a couple hundred votes. So we got to keep an eye. I'll keep that up, actually. Let's keep that up. Just in case it changes in front of your eyes. All right? And let me know if I'm rambling on.
Somebody wants to know what laws changed.
In what states? They're different.
Well, because you just generalized. You said.
Okay, so take the state of Nevada. Let's go to Nevada, okay? In the state of Nevada. Yeah, and it was COVID, supposedly. Okay. Ballot harvesting is illegal in the state of Nevada. That's number one. Okay. Number two, ballots must be solicited, not unsolicited. Okay. That's number one. In Nevada, they got that's the state, I would say, that they got almost everything they wanted. And let's go through it again because we had the bullet point. This is what they were demanding, and then I'll tell you what they got. And Nevada is one of the best examples of what they got. Everyone gets a ballot. In prior years, ballots must be requested, and inactive voters must update their information before they can cast a ballot. Maybe if they don't in time, then maybe they are able to basically cast a provisional ballot. In most cases, not. They don't. If they miss the deadline, they miss it. Even the dead, those with change of address flags, duplicate records of some sort, and others that are inactive received ballots. That's why we saw all through the process multiple ballots going to the same address. Here's Macomb County, multiple 20 years worth of residencies. Here's Jacksonville, Florida, and among the worst of those examples were in Nevada. Okay, and in Nevada, they fought back, but Clark County is really the one that got it. Okay, so what they were able to do was not only make it so they could send out all of those ballots. Clark County is about 7 in 10 of the total statewide vote, but they were 80+% of the dirty roll problem with the inactives and the dead and all of that we're just discussing. They were just sending them out. Even the Las Vegas Journal-Review was doing stories about how these ballots were everywhere. It's totally out of control. Wild West. You could pick one out and fill it out if you wanted to. Ballot harvesting is also illegal. They got a moratorium on ballot harvesting, which they had been asking for in every other state. All right, but I'm getting out of place here. Okay, the bottom line is, first you've got to get the pool to expand. First, you got to make it so these ballots are accessible, and a big part of that is that everyone gets one, whether they're solicited or not solicited. But first, make those ballots available. That is number one plan. That is A in the plan. Okay. Then 2, remove verification procedures. No signature match and other like the naked ballot situation in Pennsylvania, where it's really double verification. We will never know because they counted them without having anybody looking over their shoulder. But in most cases, in Pennsylvania, they removed the need for the signature to match. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but I do not believe a symptom of COVID is that your signature changes.
No, your hand cramps, so you can't sign no more.
Oh, it's hand cramping. Oh, okay.
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
I mean, guys, whether you're on the left or right, you got to take your heads out of your butt because you really just can't let stuff like this happen. And the bottom line is there has to be integrity in the system, and there's not. And then you may get a victory, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. You'll be illegitimate. You understand what I'm saying? You'll be illegitimate. And if you think it's bad for the last 4 years, wait. So verification procedures were removed, and that is across many different states. But again, like I said, Nevada got everything almost that they wanted. Now, what they didn't get in number 3, and by the way, all of this was essentially on state law books. They were calling for moratoriums of these. So we're going to ignore the law for this election cycle. Yes, a pause. A moratorium means a pause without the consent of the state legislature, which is key. Without the consent of the body of government that wrote the law to begin with. And number 3, they got in Nevada. They didn't get in some other states, but as we saw clearly on Twitter, which Twitter censored me for pointing out, they did it anyway. They did it in Pennsylvania. They did it in Georgia. And the U.S. Postal Service acted as their personal ballot harvesting operation. But in Nevada, they just got it in Clark County. And they took your taxpayer dollars to fund it. Ballot harvesting, even in states where ballot harvesting is illegal. By the way, it is illegal in the state of Nevada. Democrats wanted to use taxpayer dollars to fund ballot harvests to retrieve the votes. They got it. In the other states where they didn't get it, they just circumvented it anyway. And they obviously funded it with the massive numbers of donations that they received from Wall Street, 6-1.
Somebody says this happens in Brazil. I'm surprised it's happening in the U.S.
It does. I mean, this is very, very third world, what we saw here, Laura. This is third world crap. Okay, so now they have 2 weeks to harvest ballots. So again, just to recap, first, the plan is to expand the pool. It doesn't matter whether they're dead, moved, whatever. Expand the pool. Make those ballots available. Okay? 2, remove the verification procedures so nobody can go back and catch it on an audit. Which is why, by the way, you don't want anybody watching you count on election day or after election day. And then number 3, make it so you have the people to go out and retrieve these ballots like you saw in Georgia. Mm-hmm. What do you think happened? They just didn't know they had those ballots? They were harvesting them. Not curing, harvesting. And that's how it happened. And then they got, by the way, another judge. They did get a judge to tell Clark to stop counting, and they dumped another 6,000 votes anyway. That's why there's a halt right now, a little bit halt. There, I'll go back to Arizona in a second, so we watch it as it's coming in. But Douglas still has quite a bit of vote out. Carson City has a little bit, I'm told. Story, these are small population centers, but Douglas is the biggest Republican county. And then you have, Mineral has some, Churchill has some, Lander has some, Nye has quite a bit, Lincoln has quite a bit, White Pine has a little bit, Elko has quite a bit, and so does Humboldt. And the idea for a Republican to win is to stay above 45 in Clark County, win 40% of the Hispanic vote. So this is how this is going to play out in Nevada. If just all these counties came in, Donald Trump would take the lead. And then they wanted 2 weeks to procure the ballots that went out
So they can make them up.
so they can, It's that simple, guys. I mean, if you don't believe they do this, if you are still somebody who is skeptical, then you're an incredibly naive person.
Or just a liar.
Yeah, or you're just lying. The media, people in the media, so-called election experts that I've known for years, they're lying to you. And they know they're lying to you. They know they are.
All right, question time.
Let's keep Arizona up because I think Arizona is pretty important.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Let's see.
Hold on. I'm going to turn my mic off, turn yours on because I got to blow my nose. And I'm sure the audience doesn't want to hear that very much. You know, all right.
Not caring when it comes to that.
See, you're. Wait. That really must hurt the audience's ears. I'm going to turn.
Wait, can I ask?
I don't know what's going on, but when I turn your mic on, it goes, boo, I hear it. I'm sure they do too.
Do you guys hear a weird noise?
It's a humming. Do you hear the big, it's like vibration hum? You don't want to hear that crap, right? Just ask it. I'll just, don't walk away.
I got you.
Wait. I'll put you on figure 8 so they can hear you.
All right.
I'll be back.
So, these are the questions that we're going to ask Rich. CK, love you, man. You're doing the Lord's work. I hear you on Georgia and Arizona, but what are the updates on PA, Nevada, and North Carolina? Are those still in play? Well, you answered the one about Nevada. So talk about North Carolina and Pennsylvania. Smooth.
Yeah, so in North Carolina, I actually think the president has vote out there. I don't think, I know. He's got vote out there. We typically in North Carolina do see 3 days. So, but by now, today would be certified. In a normal election, North Carolina would be certified right now. We would get those absentee ballots over the last 3 days, and then over the weekend, officials would work on them, and then that election result would be certified. So as of now, Donald Trump would win the state of North Carolina by about 1.5 points, whatever it may be. There is vote out. Look, they changed it. Estimated 95% in. You sons of... It was 99 for the last 3 days, guys. Okay? It was 99 for the last 3 days. And now, if we hover over the blue areas, they're going to start saying that they have... Oh, there we go. There's one. Wait. I just saw it. Let's go. There's one. Warren now is claiming 2-1 margin for Joe Biden over there. They're claiming they still have at least 10% of their vote out. Northampton. Whoa, what a shocker. 2-1, at least 2/3. There is red vote out there, though, in North Carolina. So I still do think it would be hard. But after what I've seen, nothing would surprise me anymore. I just think that we're talking about a good deal of votes and it'd be pretty hard. There's also absentee ballots for military. Okay. So you have like Anson out there. That's all in. Let me just make sure. Mecklenburg has been saying they were done forever. They will. Believe me, they will say that they have that vote out. Wake, another area. Donald Trump is right where he needs to be as a Republican to win North Carolina. He just cannot fall below. I've seen Republicans win with 33%, but if you get blown out in Wake, it's very hard to make that up. But in the end, normally on a normal election cycle, North Carolina would be over. We'd have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for these ballots, and then that would be it. And it's not much. It's never a lot. Okay, guys, this is what is important to understand. It is never a lot. So, okay, there's 3 days for these absentee ballots to come in. It is never the size and scope that we are seeing everywhere. It's never this much. Now they have 9 days. And the way the Democratic governor has directed supervisors of elections to handle these ballots is what all the Republicans here are up in arms about. There is, again, stated, codified election law from the state legislature. Because you're the governor and there's a virus, doesn't give you the authority to change that. But they are using that as a predicate, and so they are doing. So I still do think it would be hard for them to take North Carolina away. I mean, but then again, after what I saw in Georgia, nothing at this point, nothing would surprise me. In Pennsylvania, as you can see right here, the decision desk used Pennsylvania. They called it for the president. For Joe Biden. They called the presidency, and that in their view, it's over. Philadelphia has dumped that 300,000, 250, 300,000 ballots that I told you they were trying to get him in striking distance to do. And while this has been going on, and I'm sure you guys have seen the videos, they even flipped Erie County. They flipped Monroe back. This was done. Donald Trump had won these areas. I mean, this was over, guys. And you have seen it. Allegheny claims that they still have more out there. I mean, the integrity of this election is just completely over. And Philadelphia says they'll give him another. They think they can put together enough to put him over 200,000 ballots. So that's really where this is. That's really where all of this stands. Like, the Trump campaign needed to get a canvas out here. They needed to get a canvas over here if they wanted to, get this going. I mean, really, that's what they had to do. And I suppose, guys, that they didn't think, look, yeah, you did well, very well in Macomb. He got 61% in Monroe. Republicans don't win with margins. He did what, and Joe Biden did win Oakland by 12 points. That was not enough. Joe Biden only got 45% of the vote in Oakland. That's it. That was not the formula, right? Remember? Mm-hmm. You fight Oakland to a draw. So there's 100,000 net ballots right there, 110. And then Donald Trump netted 40 plus over him in Macomb. Then you take that and you use that and you try to fight it to a draw. He did what he had to do. He absolutely did what he had to do. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you cannot expect after this anybody to take seriously the numbers that are being reported when you handled it the way you did. And by the way, everywhere where there are Democratic governors, everywhere where they change these laws, I don't know, Brian Kemp is just derelict, by the way, in Georgia. Brian Kemp is a derelict Republican. He's perfect example of a derelict Republican. He also is the one who appointed Kelly Loeffler for the Senate. I mean, so even though everybody knew nobody wanted her, Doug Collins wanted her. She had a scandal, a Wall Street scandal with her husband, dumping shares before COVID happened. Remember that? Just like Richard Burr. It's totally disgraceful. Everywhere the early vote was dumped, the election day margin was able to overcome it. where the election integrity laws were kept in place, these margins actually got better for the president. Everywhere where they were able to get through these changes, it just kept leaking and leaking and leaking and leaking and leaking. I mean, really, guys, that's really it's what it comes down to. All right? I mean, I really don't. That's not a pattern I can ignore. And Nevada's dumping right now. Clark County's still dumping. They just dumped again. You see me? You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Clark County just dumped again, guys, and it pushed Trump down under 45. So it gave Joe Biden a 22,000 vote margin. All right. The judge was told them not to dump anymore. But what do you do when somebody just doesn't listen? They just don't listen. What do you do with that? You know, I mean, yeah, somebody made an angry face. What do you do with that? That was supposed to have been frozen, guys. For those of you who don't know, I got to take a sip of water. Why don't you go ahead and ask?
All right. So let's see. Where was I?
Biden by 6. Fucking loser.
Hi, this is from Daniel. Hi, Rich. Thank you so much for the coverage. Is it usual to have more presidential than Senate? Michigan Biden plus 69.56K. Trump plus 7.6K. 61.7K total. Texas, Biden plus 367.3K. And Trump negative 64.6.
Yeah, I get, you don't have to rattle the numbers. I get it. We're also looking at same thing we see in Georgia and in North Carolina. All right. In our polling, we did see that even though John James was down to Gary Peters 1 point more than Donald Trump was down to Joe Biden, which was something media polling showed the opposite of. And in fact, the result was the opposite. But the undecideds looked better for John James than they did for Donald Trump. So I'm not surprised that it was a little tighter for them. But in the end, that is something that does raise eyebrows when somebody is looking at voting irregularities. That is a known, the undervotes are a known red flag, whatever you want, whatever term you want to use. They are a known red flag. And if you go through North Carolina, you go through Georgia, you go through these different states, you will see that the Republican vote doesn't have an undervote like the Democratic vote has. So it's a tell. It's a tell. Whatever you want to call it. A red flag, a tell, whatever you want to. It is. It is not that normal. No. Contrary to what the hell people will tell you. It isn't. There's only two things that can account for that. One is ballot design. Various differences in ballot design, precinct to precinct or county to county, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is fraud. It's that simple. They know that. That is nothing new. Large disparity. Then why are Republican disparities not as large in these states? So again, if you don't want to be accused of it, don't show your damn hand so much. But the truth is, folks, and I just want to say this before I take another question, they don't fear you at all. They don't fear accountability. They don't fear any accountability.
Repercussions.
They don't feel repercussions, right? And until they do, they'll be bold and in your face like this and then get their friends in the media to lie to you about it. That's the truth.
Remember we were listening to a radio show?
Oh, yeah, they were cutting. Well, no, I want to bring that up because I don't want to, you know my rule with him. All right?
No, that I didn't say who.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know my rule. All right? We don't promote him over here. Yeah, I was listening to somebody else on the show because he was supposed to be on the show to talk about what they had known, what they knew, and what their plan was. And he got cut. The radio just went dark, man. It was just... I mean, you're telling me that they didn't do that? Come on, man. I mean, at this point, you can't put you can't put anything in the tinfoil hat category after everything we've seen over the last 3 days.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna make you into a bona fide cynic.
She's making me into a bona. That you're not. You know, it's not you. It's them. Mm-hmm. And that show I did this morning, FM show I did this morning. She actually said, she was like, you know what, Richard? We spoke a lot of times in the past. I sense sadness in your voice. She asked me about the polling. And she said, I sense sadness in your voice. And she was like, do you think they did this on purpose? And I was just like, you cannot get to Biden plus 17 in Wisconsin unless you're like completely incompetent or you did it on purpose.
Mhm.
You did it on purpose. Why? Because of fundraising, voter suppression efforts. Total. I mean, really.
Somebody wants VYSBKING wants to know about the 90% turnout.
Yeah. Crazy. Nuts. Unheard of. Crazy. There are 2 states in the United States that have consistently high turnout. I suspect nothing in Minnesota. I suspect, although if it was systemic and everywhere, then, then maybe Hennepin and Ramsey were up to something. I don't know. It just looks to me like Donald Trump lost in these areas. He lost by look at St. Louis. He lost by a similar margin that he did in 2016. So many of he almost won Carlton though. Look, I mean, there is, oh my goodness. So he almost won Lake too. Wow. Huh. Cook was the only holdover. So maybe there was something there. I don't know. Because I did overestimate Biden in the polling quite a bit. I did. But the bottom line is this Minnesota and the other one being New Hampshire are the only 2 states in the union where there are considerable high turnout levels year after year after year. Wisconsin is a high turnout too, folks. But when I say high turnout, I don't mean Milwaukee is double-digit difference than the rest of the state. That is not what I mean. Or Philadelphia. Right now, let me get it out. And actually, Philadelphia just chunked a little bit more. So it's actually more. It's going up every time they do it. Let me give you where it was this morning in Philadelphia. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they now just pushed themselves up to 87%. Lehigh, when I told you guys they were going to use the surrounding areas to try to get it up higher, Lehigh, 87.4%. Erie, when they told everybody they basically had nothing left, they were at 78%. To flip it to Joe Biden, it went to 86.5%. You understand? And it was all male that did it. All male. Allegheny, 86%. And that's going to go up because they're saying they still have vote.
Postal Service said they're picking up more ballots today.
The Postal Service did this country an extreme disservice. They're not Postal Service. They're the Postal Disservice. United States Postal Disservice. And by the way, if you don't think they're in on it, you're not from Jersey. I don't know what to say. And now we have actually whistleblowers coming forward in Erie County. In Erie County. It took them these 3 days. They did it yesterday. It took them that time to flip it. They missed the deadline, folks. They missed the deadline. They told supervisors, told their people to backdate those ballots. You understand what they're alleging over there? They're alleging that those ballots were harvested. They were stamped with the incorrect date.
Yeah, somebody wants to know about, well, a lot of them want to know about the watermarks in the post. Let me get the right question. Have you seen the latest alleged news about the ballots being watermarked by the CISA to combat voter fraud?
I didn't. I don't.
Is that CISA?
I don't know what they're talking. I've heard some people talk about that. I don't know, guys. I don't know that.
But you know about the post office.
But I do know about the post, and I know the post office has been in on this for a while. We had a guy who retired last year. He had a lot of health problems, and when I was asking him about this, their role in potentially doing this, he said they've been at this for years. They've been at this for years, and the idea that we should rely on them to bring in these ballots late, he said this was going to be a complete corrupt quagmire. He did. He was like, Rich, maybe we'll like in a normal year that stuff happens and we're talking about a couple hundred ballots, but they're setting this up for massive problems, and that they're doing, they're doing it on purpose. I mean, it's intentional.
What do you? This is funny. What percentage of the electorate do you project the dead Democrat vote will be?
I don't know yet. I don't even want to take a stab at it. It's going to, and this is the thing too, guys. I mean, it's going to take me quite a while I am going to do this over the entire country. I'm not just going to do this in battleground states. I'm going to be comprehensive about this. I want to know. So I'm going to find out. I am going to find out. By the way, it looks like when California comes in, it looks like my turnout projection will be right and others will not. Right now, we're at about 140 million, 140 something, 2 million. My turnout projections, even with all this mail, my total vote projection range is going to be dead ass on. Dead on.
They want to know, why is it so hard to cross-reference votes with voter dead and moved registers?
Because they take the ballots and it's impossible. You need you need authorities to go and get that. That's a great question, because you need authorities to go and seize those ballots, to impound those ballots. And then they need to bring them to somebody like me, where I will go through them one by one. And actually, I don't even have to go through them one by one. You start with the pool of knowns that shouldn't be in there and you find them. Then you go down the list. It costs money, you have to pull these lists. Then you go down the list and you go by birthday and you say, okay, there's just no way these people are potentially even, alive or active anymore, or whatever it may be. Maybe this one moved and you have to dedupe it against the other state's database to find the movers. But the dead stuff is actually kind of easy. You just have to get those ballots. You have to get them. And then the other way is, honestly, a lot I can do online because they have ballot trackers. And that's what we've been doing until they shut that down, because I just said that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that hard. It just takes time. And they're in Operation Get It Done mode, So that's it. I mean, they're just trying to, that's why they want to close the books.
And that's why they destroyed ballots too.
Yep, that's why and then when you do these canvases, what you find is there'll be a giant box somewhere and it'll say, okay, there's the tabulation, 15,000 votes, right? And then you have to go and locate them. And then when you open up the box, there'll be like 8,000 votes in there. That's it. Because it really is as simple as them accidentally putting it, or intentionally, but people do make mistakes. And like the old lady I was talking to the other day, she said, honey, they're not too bright. It could just be that somebody hit an actual zero. Unless you come a calling, the physical evidence doesn't really need to be there until somebody canvasses. Then we have a problem. But until somebody canvasses and audits, then you don't ever, and they don't exactly, when you show up to do it, in instances when this has happened before, when you show up, they're not exactly cooperative. You're there to prove whether or not somebody has either been incompetent at their job or whether they're corrupt. So they're not like willing to help you. They're not, it's what's the word I'm looking for, Laura? It's an adversarial situation, right? Is that the kind of word I'm looking for? Yeah. Even the dude said it on a Glenn show yesterday. It's confrontational. You're there to be confrontational. So they're not there to help you. They're not there to open their hand. All right, we got a couple minutes. Let's get a few more.
I got a lot of questions.
But actually, the very simple answer to that, guys, is it isn't that hard to find it on the surface. It's not.
This is an interesting question. Donna wants to know, what about down ballot outcome? Does it align or is it a tell?
Well, that's where it really matters about getting more granular information, because there are races that will just, if there is some mass, fraud problem, there are down ballot races that they'll typically just leave, just like the Senate seats, right? But because we can only, the Senate is really, and congressional candidates, you can still do it with congressional candidates, but down ballot beyond that is difficult without more granular precinct level data. And that is a big problem this year. We didn't have it. There is no, 80% to 95% reporting. That's a load of crap. There is none of that. That has never happened in my entire life doing this. We know what is out. Generally. I mean, there are always some surprises, guys, but never like this. Never.
The new Pink Slime wants to know, I live in Oregon and noticed something strange. They called the state for Biden, but Trump is in the lead. Explanation?
On election night you're talking about? Well, that's because, and I tried to explain this too with Virginia, that's because they already know what vote is in and then how much somebody's going to win vote in other places and how much vote is likely out. I mean, you can call a state like Oregon and somebody be in the lead, because just like Virginia, maybe the rural areas of Oregon came in, and we can look at it. Maybe what happened that night, and I wasn't, look, I don't know what happened at that time, but maybe you saw all of this vote come in and Donald Trump had a pretty big lead, and you knew that, for instance, the bluer areas were not in yet. Lincoln is, whatever it may be. Blaine is one of the biggest, and actually he did pretty good over there. Marion. That's pretty shocking. But yeah, that vote isn't coming in. Washington's still out. So you can just tell there aren't enough votes in the rest of the state. Same thing happened in Virginia. Rural Virginia really came out en masse for Donald Trump and put up one hell of a fight. And people were like, well, maybe they'll have to uncall Virginia. And Larry actually asked me that during the election special, but I was not on, I was not on board with it, because I knew there was so much more vote out in Fairfax, and Loudoun was likely to flip back. This is where Republicans lost Virginia. Loudoun County used to be a reliably Republican county. There are areas of it now where it's a dump, and it used to be beautiful. Prince William was reliably Republican. What happened is you have all the defense contractors, all of the K Street lobbyists, all of the swamp creatures, whatever you want to call them. They have all set up residency here now. So if you're not like a Bushy kind of Republican, even a Bush Republican would still lose it, because there's just too many federal employees there. But that, I do want to point out too, it's not just federal employees that tipped Virginia. It's not. Republicans would have been able to hold on to it longer if it wasn't for immigration and migration, and the Republican reign in what is now the new Dominion. It is not the old Dominion anymore. It is the new Dominion. Might as well just call it that. But yeah, sometimes, guys, I know it looks crazy. A candidate can be leading, and then in the end, they call it for someone anyway. It's because they know so much more blue vote is still out. And vice versa, All
right.
Kentucky was called when Joe Biden was in the lead.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Hey, Rich, what is Bill Barr doing? I know the DOJ is a joke, but how can they willfully just ignore this? Are you expanding your team in the future? We need a team that fights.
That's a great question about Bill Barr, and if I would have remembered, I would have added him to the list when I was doing the rant in the beginning, my little monologue in the beginning. I heard it from the top,
Sources.
man. Bill Barr has been punked. You will never hear about what happened with the Russia investigation, and Bill Barr will do nothing about what you're seeing right now. And ironically, there are places in the Justice Department, departments in the Justice Department that are for just this, but apparently only for one side. And then it's totally dominated by liberals, completely. The people who work there, totally liberal. So that's that. I don't know how it's put. I don't want to like say it any other way. The president's been abandoned by everybody except for you. That's it.
That was sweet.
Oh, and somebody, I got an elected official who answered the question before. And thank you, Shauna, for telling me if you're still here. Governor Ducey, it is different. And I did think it was. I just wanted to make sure because I don't know Arizona that well. He cannot remove Fontes. The Board of Supervisors put someone over there with Scott Jarrett to deal with the county elections. Even with criminal charges, an elected official cannot be removed by the governor in Arizona. Recall is possible, but you have to wait 6 months after the election. And I thank you for that answering that question for me, because it is different states have different rules. In New York, for instance, the governor has the unique power to remove the mayor. In Florida, the governor has the power to remove supervisor of elections.
All right. Chris Reed wants to know, news reports during day of election in Milwaukee reported light turnout. Where did these votes come from? Yeah,
and it was light. And so was the turnout in Philadelphia, who told us at 6:30 they had 640,000 votes. So, I mean, really. It's true. I don't know what else to say. You're supposed to believe they had 2 weeks to get people to these places, didn't do it, and then massive numbers came in late. That's what they're asking you to believe.
All right. Hey, Rich.
And just to add this, for me, I'm a numbers guy. Mm-hmm. What stands in my mind is that the areas where the election integrity laws were still in place and the early vote was reported by a deadline, the election day vote overtook Biden's lead. In areas where they were not, these ballots just kept coming in as much as they needed. And to me, as a numbers guy, that smells like shit.
Well, not to mention, but like I said, how did the old white guy get more black votes
than the first black president? Thank you. Even though the exit polls say that Donald Trump won the highest black, he doubled his share with black women. Black women. For those of you who don't watch the show, maybe haven't heard me go over this before, when Republicans increase their support with black voters, it is almost never with black women. Ron DeSantis was like an incredible exception to the rule in Florida when he won in 2018. It's black men who drive the increase. This time, Trump doubled it with both groups. It's bullshit. Viewer discretion advised.
All right. All right.
And I'm just keeping Arizona up so you guys can see it. And yeah, I have to say, by the way, the rumors are true. I dumped the Nicorette, but I'm going back to it. I'm going back to it. I am.
It's not the rumor. That video glitched out and you got caught.
Damn. But I'm going back. I'm going back to the Nicorette because I'm not going to let these people vape me to my death. You know what I mean? I want to live. All right, go ahead.
All right. Sorry.
And just so you guys know, I get stuffy when I get tired. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Laura.
Hey, Rich, love the show. How can Biden and Harris expect to run the country when they have this lack of mandate? It seems like a short-term victory, long-term defeat.
Yeah, Pyrrhic victory. Yep.
My brother stated that we have a huge opportunity that hasn't happened for 100 years or so when it comes to redistricting coming up. Can you please elaborate?
I would fudge up every district if I was the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. They had, the Democrats only cry about gerrymandering when they are the ones who are at the ass end of it. All right. Because this is what they want you to believe. Republicans seized more legislatures. They crushed Democrats that are Nancy Pelosi lieutenants. Okay. They flipped seats that the Cook Political Report had likely Democrat. All right. They're going to keep control of the Senate if they don't rob David Perdue. Okay. And they don't rob Tom Tillis. Okay. But yet the president lost the election. All right. So I would gerrymander the hell out of these districts. I would gerrymander like crazy. They do it too. They did it throughout the entire 20th century when it was dominated by Democratic rule in this country. Then, only then, when Republicans took over, a little bit in 94, some of that happened, but really didn't happen until much later. And then when Republicans won 30-something state legislatures in the Obama era, they unjerried some of these districts and then jerried them the way they wanted. And then the Democrats started to cry like little babies. That's the name of the game. You get jerried when you lose. That's what happens. The only difference is Republicans, they do it with an electoral mandate. Democrats do it by running to the courts, which is why it's called sue to you blue.
Sue to you blue.
That's what Eric Holder called it.
Let's see. How can I get a hold of Michigan voter rolls to do a cross-checking?
That costs money.
But they want to know, I guess. Jared wants to do it himself, maybe.
Tell Jared to email the show.
Jared, email me at producer. Oh my God. At peoplespunditdaily.com.
But I must warn you, accurate information is not cheap. That's why what we started to do, I mean, we were doing smaller lists that of what we know to be, and then that's enough to demonstrate and show at least that it's systemic. That's what we're trying to figure out. And then if we do figure out a way to get it, get the rest, then hold on one second, guys. Do you want me to hang on? I mean, it's 12:07 anyway.
Well, somebody also wants to know what happened to McSouth.
Okay, great. That's a great place to leave off. All right. But what we're trying to do is get the smaller pool to just demonstrate that it whether or not it was systemic, and then if that bears fruit, which it does look like it will, then we'll talk about larger numbers of rolls, okay? Because what we do know, we can identify who is supposed to be removed from the roll and has not been. But then there are tons of other records that it takes time for the state to catch up to death records. It just does. When you have a family member who dies, right? Do you run to your supervisor of elections and say, my family member shouldn't be on, my family member should not be on the voter rolls anymore. Can you please remove him? No, you don't do that. Absolutely not. Then the Secretary of State is supposed to direct supervisor of elections to do that, right? So that there you have it. The last thing was what happened to McSally. Okay. Here's Donald Trump's margin right now in Arizona. Very likely to flip the state when all the votes are counted. Let's go to McSally. Come on, Senate. There we go. Loading results. This race has been called. McSally is running 4 points behind Donald Trump. The margin in Maricopa is still a solid 5 points. Pima County, she did just as well as Donald Trump in. Santa Cruz, she, a little less. And then all around this red area, and really I want to go to Yavapai, she got 63%. But in the end, she wound up losing anyway. Some of that McCain vote, right? I would say she wound up losing that anyway. So they still left her hanging out to dry. The first female fighter pilot, they don't give a damn. They still left her hanging out. And she couldn't get the margins. In Maricopa, there's clearly a big disparity. There was this group of voters that we identified in our polling. Maricopa, Yavapai, Yuma, definitely Yuma. Look at the difference in Yuma alone. And if you go back to the presidential race, the difference in Yuma is significant. They will call themselves independents. They will see Donald Trump squeezed 7 points out of Yuma. They will call themselves independents. When you ask them about their ideology, they are either moderate or conservative. They have no college degree and they work. These are not Republican voters. They don't even like the Republican Party. They just like Donald Trump. In our polling, Trump was stomping Joe Biden 29 points with these group of men. 29 points. McSally was tied with Kelly. In the end, she did win them slightly, just not enough. I mean, not even close to enough. And that's it. That's really it. And still, like I said, they were both going to lose some of their base, but they hung the McCains of the world hung her out to dry anyway. They hung her out to dry anyway. Tells you everything you need to know about those people. Really. And it's probably going to get worse because there's still some vote out. Patchy that really should have been counted already. It's crazy. Just crazy. All right. Well, there you go, guys. There you have it. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. It's 12:10. Maybe keep an eye out. Maybe tomorrow, because there's all this crap going on. We'll do something tomorrow. And I'll come on for an hour and answer some more questions because they're always going to, it's just going to be a lot of questions. And I'll do my best to answer them. All right. I really will. And we'll move on from there. All right. So hopefully we got a lot today, as much as we could anyway, because I wanted to go on. But there, and hopefully I shine some light on what is going on behind the scenes that you may or may not know. And it's just it resembles nothing from what the information you're getting. Nothing. All right. There you go, guys. All right. I'm going to wrap it. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter right there at Peoples_Pundit. Follow me. Don't forget to like the page People's Pundit Daily on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to People's Pundit Daily on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you can get an alert right before we're about to go live, especially on the weekdays. All right. I mean, the weekends. Everybody knows it's 10 a.m. on the weekdays, but if I decide to pop on the weekends, then you'll get that notification. Facebook Live too. If you like Facebook, it'll do it. And all the subscriptions, all the contributions for the Public Polling Project, all of you, all the viewers who share. I mean, really, we did good this cycle. We have a respectable, honorable record to be proud of, the work we did over here. And we're going to have answers to what happened in polling that nobody else will have answers to. Nobody else. Very few anyway. But we asked questions nobody else was asking. So maybe if something good comes out of this, you guys, you were a part of it. Before we turn into slip and fall, scumball, slimeball lawyer, that's what they'll start looking at pollsters as. Damn catastrophe. All right. So we'll leave you with the soothing sounds of the Bowen Band. Thank you for watching. We love you. We'll see you very soon. Have a safe weekend if we don't see you over the weekend. All right. All the best.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a knife, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker.